I'm Eric Leiser. This is for Albinophone Productions. Primarily, I do films with stop motion animation, feature films and short films. This is my fourth feature film that I'm working on now, and we've done about 35 short films, mostly animated. Well, my last feature film, Glitch in the Grid, premiered at the Annecy Film Festival, and then it showed at the Hiroshima International Animation Festival, which are the two biggest animation festivals. And then it went on to win awards at other festivals, and was the opening night at San Francisco International Animation Festival. And we did a theatrical run, and it came out on DVD, and it's still playing in festivals. So that's the most recent one. And then my previous feature, Imagination, has done really well. It might be used in the film, but I'm just starting to get an idea of like how I'm gonna be putting my puppets together. Just playing around with like making it as flexible as possible, and just tricks like that. Like I'm gonna be animating all of the hairs on the beard. It's like the character's blowing in the wind. So there'll be different armatures that are more complex than the others. I want to do ball and socket armatures, which means you can get like even more movement than you can from like an aluminum puppet like this. But this one, they work pretty well, as long as you know how to animate. So yeah, I'm gonna be making a lot of puppets for this film. Yeah, it's always fun to make puppets, and whenever you do stop motion animation, like everything's this tactile world, and that's what maybe considered even shooting the film in 3D, because when you put the 3D glasses on or whatever, you can get the sense of the actual scale, and that's this is actually a world that's not with real depth. It's based in the real world, real gravity, compared to computer animation. So, and there's a sense of like the uncanny and tactilism that I really like about stop motion animation, making puppets. So, yeah. I make all the costumes and everything. This puppet's already been through production, so it's kind of like messed up, but it's cool. Twilight Park is a story about a grandpa and his grandson who meet every week. The grandson visits grandpa at this retirement park, and they go to a park called Twilight Park. And there, Grandpa Jules tells Jonathan stories about Twilight Park back in its heyday, which are really like fantastical, colorful stories about this rodeo show / amusement park where him and Howie Hee Haw, a rodeo show clown, had created this park for the young and old, and it was a really fantastical place. The thing is, like halfway between these stories, he always falls asleep because he has narcolepsy, and he's struggling with Alzheimer's. So Jonathan gets really frustrated, but starts to, when he falls asleep, imagine these stories for himself. But one day everything changes because this anomaly happens in the sky during the twilight hour, and Jonathan gets sucked into his grandpa's mind, and all of a sudden he's in Twilight Park as his grandpa imagined. But it's a little different because everything is eroding, because his mind is slowly fading away. And there's a queen there who has been locking up systematically all of Grandpa's memories. And in order to even have the chance to save his grandpa, Jonathan has to work with Howie Hee Haw to win these dream keys in these mind games. And so basically it's the struggle to like outwit the queen and open up all the doors to Grandpa's mind again, so that his life can be saved, and that Jonathan can have a closer bond with his grandpa. So really it's about the love between a grandpa and his grandson, and the grandson's desire to not see his grandpa fade away. I've been working on it with my brother Jeffrey for over 10 years. Originally it was going to be a TV show for Nickelodeon, stop motion animation TV show, but now we want to do it as an independent feature film. We have the script and the characters that 10 years of just growing and saturation, so that everything's very clear. This project's a little different from my previous work, because in my previous films it was like these live action kind of reality scenarios and characters going into like states like visions or dream states or imaginative states. So there was kind of that dichotomy going on and that tension between the two. But now I want to go into a fully animated world so I can explore the strength of what I like to do, which is create environments of interesting characters, use, create new techniques in animation and new ways of telling a story and presenting visual information. So it's a lot of building of my past work, but also this is just a more colorful, larger scale world with more like strange things going on than ever before. And this is the first time I've really worked with a script that I've had so much time to like refine, and just everything is much more thought out and saturated because of this time that I've had to develop it. So this is Queen Henrietta. Before we go into Twilight Park, she lives in a little desert town, and she's a cat lady. She's considered the most eccentric person in town, but she has a big crush on Grandpa Jules. When we go into Twilight Park, she becomes Queen Henrietta, and she basically, like I said, rules Twilight Park, and she is very unhappy to be stuck inside Grandpa Jules' mind, and she basically is, she's not going to say she's a bad person, but she definitely is angry, and she is focused on shutting down Twilight Park and closing up all the dream doors. So that's Queen Henrietta.
Got it.
Queen Henrietta is based on partially off my grandma, in like the best sense of her. Like, she's really outspoken and eccentric and has a very interesting sense of humor and doesn't care really what other people think at all. This is Howie Hee Haw. Howie Hee Haw is an ex-rodeo show clown who came from Tibet to America because he was obsessed with rodeo. And one day he hit his head on a metal cactus sculpture and got amnesia. So he struggles with amnesia. So he's obsessed. Howie Hee Haw's obsessed with Buffalo Bill and rodeo shows. So he finally comes out to Arizona, and that's where he meets Grandpa Jules, and they start this rodeo show amusement park called Twilight Park together. He brings over his Tibetan bull Steve. He names Steve from Tibet and shaves it to look like a Western bull. So they do these rodeo shows together, and Howie always gets bucked off though, and he hits his head a lot. But he's the most like wild, like eccentric character in the film. So these are some like early designs I did, about probably like 10 years ago, but it's basically this world of color and mystery and silhouettes where everything is like alive and pulsating. This is the park where they originally meet Grandpa and his grandson Jonathan, and he tells them stories but always falls asleep, like I was saying. There's some more early designs I did of like Twilight Park itself. It's inspired by a lot of like surrealist landscape paintings from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and also just about like the natural world, like underground. I'm really interested in neuroscience and things like that, so it's all kind of interrelated. I'm definitely informed a lot by science, for sure. I mean, I was interested in going to I was planning to go into medicine before I went to art school, so anatomy and just the brain and bones, like, are still very much ingrained. Even if I try to get it out, it's still in there. This is a shot of Jonathan stuck inside his grandpa. When he gets sucked inside of his mind, it's like knocking on the eyeball trying to get out. This is an early drawing. Grandpa. My age range is it's gonna be like kind of like a fairy tale for like kids and adults. It'll be one of the that's what I like films that like can work to like certain elements can work for anybody. So I think kids will really like it for certain reasons, and then adults will like it for others.